Hey y'all, it's entry number 86 of this off-season series where we discuss a different player's fantasy value each day as a group. We are another day closer to the start of the 2022 NFL season. Each day we'll drop a name, go through some positives and some concerns of their fantasy profile, and then I'll give my personal opinion at the end. Today's discussion will be on James Cook, running back, Buffalo Bills. We'll start with some of the positives with James Cook's fantasy profile. Elite offense. The Buffalo Bills offense ranked 5th in total yards with 381.9 and 3rd in points per game with 28.4 during the 2021 season according to ESPN. Playing in a top-tier offense should lead to more scoring opportunities and efficient fantasy opportunities in general for James Cook. The next thing I really like about James Cook's fantasy profile is the fact that he's a dual threat back. James Cook was Georgia's primary pass-catching back in 2021, catching 27 passes for 284 receiving yards and 4 receiving touchdowns according to Sports Reference. He also was pretty solid on the ground, taking 113 carries for 728 rushing yards and 7 rushing touchdowns. Being capable both on the ground and through the air will give Cook more opportunities to stay on the field and put up fantasy points. The last major thing I really like about James Cook's fantasy profile is his speed and big play potential. James Cook is pretty explosive, just like his older brother, Dalvin Cook. He ran a 4.42 40-yard dash, one of the faster times among running backs according to Player Profiler, and has the ability to take any given play to the house. This speed and big play potential is the best of the Bills running backs this year and should get him some opportunities to see the field. Moving on to some of the concerns with James Cook's fantasy profile. Committee backfield and running back depth chart. The Buffalo Bills don't have a clear bell cow, and their backfield is pretty crowded between Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, and James Cook. Because of this, it may be difficult for Cook to earn enough touches to be very fantasy relevant in 2022. The next concern I have with James Cook's fantasy profile is that he's never been a workhorse. James Cook was never utilized as a workhorse during his college days, totaling 297 touches during his entire career and topping out at 140 touches in a single season in 2021 15 games according to Sports Reference. This past usage and Cook's lighter build of 199 pounds makes it all the more likely that he's utilized as a piece of a committee backfield rather than a workhorse back. The last concern I have with James Cook's fantasy profile is his smaller build and injuries. As we mentioned a bit earlier, James Cook is on the lighter side for a running back, and his injury history includes a grade 3 ankle sprain in 2018, a rib sprain and injury in 2020, and a shoulder injury in 2021 according to Draft Sharks. Some additional thoughts on James Cook's fantasy profile. At the end of the 2021 season, the Buffalo Bills offensive line ranked 17th according to Pro Football Focus. Going into the 2022 season, the offensive line is projected to be the 20th best line in the league. They will bring back 3 of the 5 same starters in 2021, and the only changes to the starting lineup will be made at left guard and right tackle. Georgia has produced a bunch of solid NFL running backs in recent years, most notably Todd Gurley, Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, and DeAndre Swift. James Cook and Zamir White could be the next backs from the university to be successful. The Buffalo Bills will have a new offensive coordinator in 2022 in Ken Dorsey, after Brian Daboll left to become the New York Giants head coach. Personal opinion: James Cook is going off the board as RB38, about pick 131 overall on ESPN, and RB38, about pick 111 overall on Yahoo. Being a traditional bell cow doesn't seem to be in his range of outcomes based on his size, the roster makeup, and some of the comments made by GM Brandon Beane. But if he plays well enough, he could potentially be a back that splits carries on the ground and takes the majority of the pass-catching workload. Think like a poor man's DeAndre Swift or Alvin Kamara. I'm not sure if that will eventually happen this year, since Singletary is also on the team and a very solid pass catcher himself, but at his current ADP, it's worth taking a shot on Cook in case he emerges earlier than expected. For each of these entries, we will highlight a charitable cause or organization. I couldn't find a charity that James Cook supports, so here's a link to his brother, Dalvin Cook's My Cause My Cleats in 2020, which was for the Minnesota Vikings Foundation. Here's a link to that organization below. And that's it for today's entry. If you enjoyed this entry, be sure to like and subscribe.